What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fan? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast network and channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right, that's right. And for everyone who's tuning in, we thank you for supporting Behind the Bench and subscribing to the channel. It helps making the show the best that it can be. And for any new found members, we appreciate you joining on board. We love talking about sports, and we may not have the platform, but we like to say it's quality over quantity in terms of number of people who choose to spend time listening to our take on sports. I'm amped up because the Summer League, the NBA Summer League 2024, has kicked off and started last week. And it takes me back to 2017, man. And it seemed like a long time ago, but it's really not, considering the direction this story all-time sports franchise is taking in the Los Angeles Lakers, man. And I know I talk about this a lot. I know I do. It's like this. This is where I'm at with it. Those young men will always be Los Angeles Lakers to me. And tell you the truth, in the grand scheme of things, if anybody deserves a pass in terms of what fans will conclude that they have not won anything at this point in their careers, if anybody deserves a pass because of the circumstance, it's the original real young core. And the reason being is we'll never know what they could have did. That's the tragedy about all this. Look, when Showtime Lakers ended in '93, when James Worthy retired, he was the last, one of the last remaining members of Showtime. Magic had retired, 2 years prior. Kareem retired 4 years prior, back in 1989. Magic in 1991. Byron Scott will go on to play for the Indiana Pacers. AC Green joined the Phoenix Suns, right? So the last true Michael Cooper had long since retired. And that's what I loved about the Showtime Lakers, man. Just about everybody played their entire career for, James Worthy, lifelong Laker. Magic Johnson, lifelong Laker. Michael Cooper, lifelong Laker. That means something, man. That means something. AC Green became the all-time NBA Iron Man, representing that Laker uniform. Byron Scott, he played the majority of his career with the Lakers. He played in Indiana. I believe he played in Vancouver when the NBA expanded by 2 additional teams in the mid '90s by awarding 2 Canadian cities expansion teams in Toronto and Vancouver. And I believe Byron Scott played briefly for the Vancouver Grizzlies, and then he returned back to the Lakers and finished his career. That means something to me, man. And Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, Elton Campbell, people like that, they got to play at least on average, man, 6 to 7 years. And I'm not saying if you draft someone that everybody's gonna play the entire career for the team who drafted them. That's not what I'm saying. But when something is abruptly interrupted and eventually removed, man, the psychological impact of that, you see it inflicting this franchise. You see it inflicting this franchise. And I know a lot of fans of the Lakers, man. I know that they was growing a little tiresome, that the team wasn't performing. They weren't winning, but there were circumstances. Kobe Bryant injuring his Achilles. That was huge. That was career threatening. He was really never the same after that. He returned back. Actually, he returned back quicker than anticipated, and then about like 6 games back from his return, he injures his kneecap, and that's basically it. You know, when the league blocked that Chris Paul trade, that resonated. That set the franchise back 5 years alone. So it gets me to this young core, man. And it's not that I'm living in the past, but the problem is the future was exempted. It was exempted. See, the timeline was, if you look at who was drafted during that 4-year period, the cornerstone players who were drafted, they would have started to come of age by the beginning of the 2020s. See, the timeline, you couldn't ask for a better timeline. Because the 2020s entering the new decade, like, usually when a dynasty starts, for some reason, it tends to start around the beginning of a decade. You know, Showtime won their first title in 1980. Won 5 titles. Boston won their first title. Larry Bird, Kellen Parrish in 1981. The Bulls, they started their dynastic run in 91. Golden State, they was building toward that point, but they won their first title in 2015. But they won 4 titles, 3 additional titles since then. But normally, it starts around that decade, the beginning of that particular decade, when the team is starting to, you know, make their presence known. So, like with the summer league taking place now, it takes me back to 2017, man, and I think about the excitement. It was more exciting than an NBA regular season game, arguably NBA playoff game in some respects, because a new era felt like it was being ushered in, man. You know, when an all-time transcendent figure like Kobe Bean Bryant, you know, retires, man, you know, that is a chapter of a story that ends, and you're beginning a new chapter, you know. And it was like Kobe was passing that torch, man. And when you exempt something like that, the psychological impact can resonate in a negative fashion for years, right? And I'm watching highlights now. I'm watching highlights as we speak. And the Brandon Ingrams and the Lonzo Balls and the Kyle Kuzmas and the Josh Harts, the Alex Carusos. Look at the list of those names, man. Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, Ivica Zubac, Josh Hart, Alex Caruso, Thomas Bryant, PJ Dozier, Vander Blue. And actually Vander Blue, I believe Vander Blue come out, if I'm not mistaken, North Carolina. I could be wrong. David Nwamba, Matt Thomas, Travis Ware, Alex Brown, Gabe York. But you look at that, I'm going to say from Brandon Ingram to David Nwamba. No, I remember Travis Ware got some good run in that tournament. And I know this is just summer league, but the summer league is being currently devalued this go around for obvious reasons, which I won't get into. But this was important. This summer league tournament was important because it drew the largest viewership of any summer league before or since. They commanded sellout. They drew sellout crowds at the Thomas Mack Center in Las Vegas, home of the UNLV Running Rebels. And the Laker fans who attended those games, man, you just felt something like, as a sports fan, you rarely feel like that feeling watching that team perform, that was a different type of feeling. It was like, wow, we are on the verge of something special, man. Like everybody felt uplifted by that young core, man. I'm talking about the former president Magic Johnson, newly hired GM Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, the owner of the team. Everybody, even as Kobe Bryant retired, he expressed excitement, whenever he was asked about the young talent. And even the journalists or whatnot covering the Lakers. And then Luke Walton was the head coach, and he brought positive experience and momentum from being the assistant coach at Golden State. And he implemented a variation of Golden State offense for that young core to run and operate. And even the defense too, the defensive principles. And I'm telling you, man, what's missing from the franchise is what they gave up. I'm so sure of it, man. I will put 40 years. I will put all my years of watching the NBA on it. That's how confident I am. And when you watch this tournament, man, you see, like I said, man, the Brandon Ingrams, the Lonzo Balls, the Alex Caruso, the Kyle Kuzmas, the Josh Harts, the Vita Zubac's. They was like, man, we proud, man. We're honored to wear this uniform and to represent this franchise, to usher in a new era. This wasn't like, oh man, we drafted, man, we good now, man. We just gonna cash them checks. No, man, they showed a pride in wearing a uniform that I haven't seen since they were deemed expendable. Look at the player turnover over the past 6 years. There's been so many players that 5 years from now, when you look back on it, you're going to forget half them players or 75% of them players that was brought to the team. You're going to forget. You're going to be like, man, was Carmelo Anthony really on the team? You know what I mean? Like, was DeAndre Jordan, did he play? He played for this team? Montrezl Harrell? He was on the team? People going to forget because it don't resonate. It don't resonate like your own players. Look at the dynasty teams. Boston Celtics of the 60s. You remember all the names. Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, John Havlicek, Sam Jones, K.C. Jones, JoJo White, Dave Cowens, Don Nelson, John Thompson, coach of the Georgetown Hoyas. He played on their team. If I'm not mistaken, Bill Sharman. He was once a player of that franchise. You remember those players, man. They just resonate. You remember Showtime Lakers. You remember damn near every significant player on their team. You do remember all them names. Bad Boy Pistons. You remember them. Chicago Bulls. You remember them. Golden State Warriors. You remember the cornerstone players. When you let that go, man, you relinquish your identity. So when I look back at these highlights, man, because that Summer League team 2017 is miles ahead of the team that's out there right now. Or any team that's in the Summer League tournament right now. I'm telling you, man, they beat the Clippers. They beat Boston, Philadelphia. They came back and beat Philadelphia. In the championship game, they played Brooklyn too. In the championship game against Portland. And Lonzo Ball played with so much confidence because when he was brought in, man, he was brought in to be our playmaker of the future. You see what I'm saying? So he played with more confidence, man. But when the rumors started about, bringing that guy to the team and bringing veteran players to challenge for the starting point guard position, it's like, man, who does that? So slowly but surely, the identity, the whole arc of the team changed from the youngest team with the most energy, the most promise, to an all-time win scenario where you depended on veteran players. I'm talking about veteran players on their last legs or the last stage of their career. This is huge. This is huge, man. And this is one thing that young core can claim. And I know it's just summer league, and I get it, but it's a part of the NBA. It's part of the NBA system. They can sit there and say, we had the greatest summer league team of all time, because they did. And I'm not just saying it just to be talking. I'm not saying it because I'm a fan of the Lakers. I'm saying it because it's true. That energy was about as real as it's going to get. That energy was infectious. And when they started the season, they didn't have no like major veteran players. Like, they didn't have a Chris Paul that Phoenix had in 2021. They didn't have that. This was the new. What I'm trying to say is, man, this was their team, and they played 150%, and they deserved the right to represent the franchise leading to the future. I guarantee you, they wouldn't have sold us short, man. They wouldn't have did it. We would be sitting here, people would be sitting there crapping on the front office every day. Talking about they not doing this, they not doing that. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They're mom and pop. You wouldn't be hearing it because nobody was saying mom and pop prior to bringing that dude to the team in the summer 2018. They were saying the front office was doing a miraculous job drafting that young talent, preparing for free agency 2019, clearing out that cap space. Everything they was doing, man. That fans really don't understand the potential of what could have happened in this decade if they'd have stuck to the script. They don't understand it. But was confirming it for me is the ascension of these teams in the Western Conference. But even like the Orlando Magics, the Cleveland Cavaliers are rebounding nice since LeBron James left in 2018, and they reached the conference semifinals. You got a lot of young teams on the rise, man. And that Western Conference, man, it's a juggernaut. And technically, from 1 to 15 is arguably deeper than it's ever been. Even with the play-in, it's not a guarantee you can advance to the playoffs. That's how deep this thing is. But was confirming it for me is particularly these small market teams that stuck to the script. The Phoenix Suns stuck to the script, and they brought in a veteran like Chris Paul. Don't get me wrong, but they didn't sacrifice and compromise their core players, their youth, for Chris Paul to contribute to that team when they went to the finals in Phoenix in 2021. Then Utah Jazz was like a precursor with Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and they went to the conference semis in 2021. They had the league's best record that year, and they clinched number 1 seed in the West. So you can see the pendulum shifting right after the Lakers completed their bubble in 2020. The shift was already underway because the standings. Matter of fact, in 2020, when the Lakers threw all these chips in, right? Okay. The Lakers, they had the best record in the West, right? Okay. Clippers was number 2 seed. Neither team in LA has finished in the top 3 of the Western Conference since. Neither LA squad. Right? They've had to go through the play-in to advance. Now the Clippers, they did finish with the 4th seed this year, but they lost to a better team and a younger team in Dallas Mavericks in the first round. So what I'm trying to say is, man, with the ascension of the Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota Timberwolves going to the conference finals, the Oklahoma City Thunder, uh, uh, clinch number one seed in the West. Think about that. Oklahoma City in 2023 finished one game out of the playoff through the play-in. I think they finished with a record of I want to say 40-42. I think, and then they make this big jump is because they stuck with their talent and adhered to a team system with a star player, leading the way. You know what I'm saying? And Sacramento Kings. You see what I'm saying? So all those teams' success confirms to me that if we had stayed the course, we'd have been ahead. We'd have been ahead of all the team by at least 3 years. It would have took 3 years for teams to catch up what we were doing, and then by that point, then you can always make a move to stay ahead of the pack. You know what I'm saying? And then constantly drafting in new talent. So I hold on to this dearly, man. And it's as they say, a scratch in my craw. I'm looking at the Summer League right now. Lonzo Ball was tearing it up. He had more confidence because that was his team. He was the leading of the team naturally because he was the playmaker, and he was the MVP of the tournament. So he couldn't have been a bust. And I know it was just Summer League, but this is the best Summer League team of all time. And the problem was it was too much hype placed on him, and then a distraction about whether or not that guy was going to be brought to the team. But he still had it. If you look at Lonzo Ball's numbers his rookie year, they were carbon copy to Jason Kidd's rookie numbers. Carbon copy. And we know Jason Kidd's a first ballot, right? He a first ballot. He played the league, 19 years? And he didn't win a championship till he came in the league in 1994, and he won a championship 17 years later in Dallas. You see what I'm saying? But Lonzo Ball, he averaged 10.5 points a game, even with that unorthodox shooting form. He averaged over 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and he was already playing great defense. And his assist to turnover ratio was exceptional for a rookie guard. He didn't turn the ball over a lot. The only issue with him was correcting that jump shot and be more confident in his offense. And he started to do that down in New Orleans. And when he went to Chicago, he really took off, and he just unfortunately suffered a knee injury that was misdiagnosed a couple of times. I think a lot of that was wearing them shoes, man. Them shoes that the big baller brand shoes, man, they wasn't being manufactured right. You know what I'm saying? And they're probably, I'm not trying to make no excuse. I'm really not trying to make no excuse. But all I'm trying to say is, man, the Lakers, it's going to be a long time before you get another opportunity like this, man. When you draft a talent like that, when you draft during your whole roster of your own natural talent, man, you can't get that up, man. You think about that. Everybody on this list right here in this picture, man, they all gone in record time. That's not even talking about Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., Julius Randle, and Zvi Mikhailiuk and Mo Wagner. You know what I'm saying? They were all gone by 2021. Think about this. The Summer League tournament, largest rated Summer League tournament ever. Sellout crowds. Right? Sellout crowds. All the excitement, and they were all expelled within 4 seasons. This ain't like Eddie Jones and Nick Van Exel in the 90s. They played for about 6-7 years for the franchise. And Eddie Jones, they moved on from Eddie Jones because Kobe Bryant, he proved that he became the better player than Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones was an awesome player in his own right. But Kobe Bryant, man, we all know who he was about and what he became. But he had to earn that 2-guard spot. So they didn't need 2 shooting guards. So therefore, competition and Kobe earning that spot. Then they said, okay, we can move on from Eddie Jones. It wasn't no real animosity. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, Eddie Jones to me is still a Laker. You know what I'm saying? In heart. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is, man, The psychological impact of relinquishing a whole roster of your own natural talent is something we never seen before in professional basketball. Think about if a football team, NFL team, 45-man roster, right? And they clear out everybody within 3 years. Do you think that team gonna roll after they throw all the chips in? Here go a perfect example right here. And I know this may be unpopular take. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? They had all the talent, and they had a young quarterback, Jameis Winston, right? And he threw for a lot of yards, but his problem was he threw too many interceptions, right? Okay, so you bring in Tom Brady. Tom Brady was already over 40 years old. Now, we know Tom Brady, career-wise, has been better than Jameis Winston. But when they brought in Tom Brady, they brought in a whole bunch of veterans, right? Now, they did win. They did win, per se. But then the team started to decline precipitously to where 2 years after that, they finished below 500 in the regular season. The only reason they made the playoffs because they won the division and advanced as a wild card and lost in the first round. And Tom Brady said there was no talent left, and he retired. So what I'm trying to say is, man, the Lakers was even younger than that Tampa Bay Bucks squad. You know what I'm saying? And look, like I say, everybody wants to see their team win, man. But you know what I don't like, man, is you cannot rationalize, you can't justify getting rid of all their talent like that, man. We've never seen an NBA friend. Lonzo Ball coming down here hitting threes like it's going out of style. I'm watching the highlights right now. Lakers versus Philadelphia. I think this was probably the quarterfinal, like the quarterfinal game, semifinal game, and he hitting it with defense in his face. But I think his confidence was taken away because his starting position was being challenged. And you don't do that to a young player. You don't do that to no. When Rajon Rondo, when he got drafted by the Boston Celtics, they inserted to the starting lineup as the point guard. You see what I'm saying? He didn't have to worry about nobody trying to take his position. And he grew as a player and he became one of the top point guards in the league, pure point guards for a long time. So what I'm trying to say is, man, the reason I hold on dear to this is because I knew what we had, man. I watched them play continuously, game after game after game, the whole season, man. I watched every game. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there, man. Okay, they finished 35-47. If that Laker team was in the Eastern Conference, they would have made the playoffs. But the West was so strong, and they had a hard schedule too. They had it wasn't like they had no like month long home a month long schedule playing at home for a month straight. Just about. They didn't have that, man. What I'm trying to say is, man, this team, Lonzo Ball is a rookie point guard. He helped generate the second fastest paced team in the NBA as a rookie. He did it as a rookie, man. They was top 2 in rebounding in the league by percentage. I think only behind Philadelphia. They had the third highest scoring bench in the league. But this is the killer. This is a young core-driven team. No veterans on the team. And they finished the season with a point differential in the regular season of -1. Think about that. In the Western Conference, you playing all the big time. Prime gonna stay with KD. James Harden in his prime, winning MVP. Chris Paul, they winning 65 games down there in Houston. Trevor Ariza was balling as a 3-and-D wing. They still had Eric Gordon down there. He's pretty much in his prime, coming off the bench, hitting about 17, 18 a game. Then you had the Nate Hilario still playing ball as the big man. And if I'm not mistaken, Tyson Chandler, I think Tyson Chandler was on that. I know he was on Houston the year they played in the bubble. But nonetheless, they played. San Antonio was still strong. Utah was good. You know what I'm saying? And they competed with those teams, man, down to the last 4-5 minutes before the other team's experience took over in the end. But it wasn't like they was getting blown out, man. A negative 1 point differential by a young core team, and it just shows they was ahead of the curve. Now imagine going into the next year with no interruption, and they allowed to develop more chemistry, and knowing that the team is theirs, man. I'm telling you, they gonna jump about another 10 games. They gonna win about 46 games, clinch an A seed, and they'll get that first taste of playoff basketball. And then they getting better. Then your cornerstones, Randall's dropping 20 and 10. Ingram probably would average 22 a game based on his trajectory. Then you add the right star player to that in the deepest free agent pool in the history of this league. I'm telling you, you got your draft picks. Your salary cap is plush. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't no veterans on the team at that point, so everybody pretty much playing on a rookie deal. Outside of Randall and Clarkson. You see what I'm saying? But Clarkson was re-signed, making about 12, 13 million. You see what I'm saying? And then you got a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. You know, I always like his game. He got a very steady game. He don't try to outdo himself. He play his role to a T. I'm telling you, man, Laker fans, I think they'd be shocked by the progression of this team, man. And we'd be going through all this drama, dog. And you know, people won't be talking about, you know, this is an all-time clown show in the circus. Because quite frankly, man, it saddens me to hear that every day. Knowing we could have had, too. Lonzo coming down here hitting threes, man. I'm watching him right now in the summer league. He had all the confidence, man. The problem was it was too much pressure put on him. People saying he better than Steph Curry already. He can, he the best point guard in the league instead of just letting him go in there and play his game, man. But he still had a solid rookie season despite everything. See, me as a fan, man, I'd have seen so much hype and hoopla, man. Just in terms of sports overall, that don't even faze me, man. It's about what I'm seeing on the court. Zubac balling. He just hit a left-hand hook shot, bank shot off the glass. Footwork. But see, just imagine if every player was truly developed on this team, dog. Just imagine. Josh Hart, his second year, his minutes was taken from him because that dude lobbied for the Lakers to sign veteran players. Michael Beasley, Lance Stevenson, and whatnot. That took minutes away. Tyson Chandler being brought to the team, that took minutes away from Zubac. You see what I'm saying? Or Zubats. Imagine if they was allowed to truly develop as one, as a unit, and as a team. I'm telling you, dog. Would they have won a championship in 2020? No, they wouldn't not have, but it'd have been a real progression leading towards one instead of mortgaging the whole organization off for 1 year, because that's what has happened. That's why Lakers can't make no moves now. They were so far ahead of the curve, they didn't realize it, man. And I'm not just saying this to be talking. I mean this with every fiber of my being, man. But that summer league was on fire, man. I'm telling you. It was so much excitement, man. It was darn near like it was like watching the UNLV running Rebels, during the Larry Johnson days, Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony, Plastic Man, Stacey Altman, Leroy Butler. I'm telling you, man. They had it, boss. We had it all, man. I'm telling you. And I know it, man. I'm not just saying this to be talking. I know it in my heart of hearts, man. And that's why the franchise is struggling. Because what's happening now is they've been operating backwards for so long in a win-now scenario to where it's like a dog trying to chase his own tail. You got two superstars on this team. They can't win 50 games. But OKC got one star on the team, one bona fide star they clinched the number 1 seed. It's something wrong. There's something wrong. I'm telling you, they built this thing up right. The Los Angeles Lakers, you don't trade no 21-year-old Brandon Ingram. You don't trade nobody like that. He'll be playing better in LA than he is where he is right now in New Orleans. I guarantee it. By the time 2020 hit, they winning 50 plus games. And that's just the beginning of them winning 50 plus games a year. And by the time everybody come of age and you constantly drafting your own talent in, yes, you bring in a key free agent, man. But player, like the way players are shunning the Lakers right now, players would have been lining up. It'd have been a total reverse. They gonna win 57, 58 games on the minimum every freaking year. At that point, you're on cruise control. And based on the metric, and based on what they were achieving that year before all this started, the Lakers are winning a couple championships under their own direction. Under their own direction. And the belief would just, see, the whole problem is, once you go this route, you lose belief. How can you truly believe in your franchise if you mortgage everything off to try to shortcut your way to the top? That means you don't believe. That's why Jordan was so strong, because he believed. When he was falling short to the Pistons all them years, man, it just made them stronger, more determined. And they got closer and closer and closer. And when they finally beat the Pistons, they beat them in 4 straight. And you knew that whole thing was over. Kobe and Shaq went through the wars, man. Like Doug Collins said, you got to get your heart broke before you become a champion. Before you become a real champion, you got to get your heart broke at some point. That's one of the greatest. That's one of the greatest I ever heard in my life in the NBA. You got to get your heart before you become a champion, or solidify yourself as a champion. You see, so we operate in reverse. Fans are getting frustrated. The front office is catching all the heat, but the problem is, man, they gave up the greatest young core ever under the modern era. But people can't see it because they weren't allowed to, like the way OKC is developing, there's no interruption in their progress. But if you look across the board, the Lakers was deeper than OKC. They was deeper than OKC. And they had players who can specialize in something. Hart with his rebounding. Look about who did OKC just trade for this offseason a couple weeks ago? Alex Caruso. Because of what? Because of his defense. Ingram is your mid-range specialist, your mid-range assassin. Right? Randall, he's a Larry Bird prototype player. 24 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. That's pretty much what Larry Bird averages his career. 24, 10, and 6. That Randall is a prototype of Larry Bird. His nuance, the pace, the way he played, it really reminds you of Larry Bird. Kuzma is your clutch shooter, your dagger shooter at the end of games. No fear. I trust Kuzma hitting the big shot because I watched him since he's been in Washington. His first 2 years in Washington, he led the entire NBA in clutch shooting percentage during the closing stages of games. Kyle Kuzma. Like I said, Lonzo Ball is becoming a 3-and-D point guard. A 3-and-D point guard. Best defensive point guard in the league. That's where he was headed before he unfortunately got hurt. So we had players who specialize in a particular aspect of the game. Zubats, number 1 rim protector in the NBA. Number 1 rim protector in the NBA last year, this past season. Not Embiid, not Jokic, not Giannis, not Chet Holmgren, not Anthony Davis, not Jonas Valanciunas, not Domantas Sabonis, not DeAndre Ayton, not Victor Wembanyama, not Hopper and Sengun, not Kristaps Porzingis, not what's his name? Mitchell Robinson of the Knicks. I can go on and on and on. I can go on all day. Not Miles Turner. No one rim protect the NBA was Ivica Zubac. So that's why, man, I'm so frustrated by all this, man, because this was all too predictable. And like I said, man, that guy's formula, man, you may crank out one, but you're gonna have to turn over every leaf. You're gonna have to turn over every stone, man, to get that. It's gonna cost you everything. and you're going to lose more than you win in the end. Whereas if you trust in what you're doing, you're going to be better off anyway. Because you know exactly what you got. And more than likely, you're going to surpass expectations. Because you truly believe in what you're doing as a franchise. That's why the root of the problem is, without people knowing, the reason why they being chastised the way they are and mocked and ridiculed is because a lack of belief. To see it through, say, okay, we know it's going to take a grace period for this young core to grow and develop, man. They got to go through it. You see what I'm saying? Oklahoma City was 40-42 last year. Boom. 57-58 wins this year. Boom. It came out of nowhere. But the seeds were planted 4 years ago. And with that new CBA, you're not going to be able to shortcut your way. Them days are done. And that's why everything is coming. Everything is happening to a T, to fruition, man. Everything, man. Every single thing, man. But I'm glad, me personally, and I talked to my fellow Laker crew members almost on the daily. What I'm glad is, man, I believe in this young core. And everything that I've been assessing about the NBA is based on my unequivocal belief that young talent will eventually take over this league. And it's not going to take longer than people think. When everybody was saying you need to get a veteran, you need to get this veteran, get that veteran, boom. The young talent was starting to come together. And then we saw this playoff, man, they ran the table. They ran the table, especially in the Western Conference. So why would it change? Why would it, like once the Bulls beat the Pistons, that was it. That was all she wrote. Once the Lakers, Kobe and Shaq, once they broke through and and overcame Utah and San Antonio, that was it. They done seen the wars, man. That's what prepare you. And think about it. Young core 19, 20-year-olds, man, within 3 years, they'd have been so battle tested, man. They would have seen it all. By the time they hit 23, 24, they'd be ready to go. Telling you. So, like I said, I'm real amped up about it, man. But I know one thing. That young core can always say, they can always share between themselves that they presented the best squad in the history of the Summer League tournament. Bar none. When I mean bar none, I mean bar none. They finished undefeated too. They went 5-0. I remember it, man. And Lonzo Ball was killing it. He was killing it, man. But like I said, man, I miss those guys, man. I ain't. There's no shame in me. I just have no connection with this situation, man, because it don't mean nothing. Because they not winning. That's the ironic thing about it. You give it all away, but you're not. You got 1 year out the deal, but it costs you everything down the road. Who really wants that? I want what we supposed to have. That's what I wanted. This is not what was meant to be. You see what I'm saying? Often imitated but never duplicated. Think about it. What would you really rather have? You got two superstars on the team right now. The whole franchise is in flux. They can't win 50 games. It's been going on since the bubble. Right? Would you rather have, do you really, think about it, how it's all playing out. Would you rather go that route, man, where they say, you're sure to get one, but the thing about belief is you have to sometimes, as they say, and we all had problems with it. I'm not trying to be a preacher or nothing, but to take that step forward, man, uncharted territory, it takes belief. Instead of the surefire thing, more often than not, you wind up shortchanging yourself and selling yourself short. But if you truly believe and what you're doing, believe in yourself and believe in your players and show that belief in the players, it will reciprocate. It will reciprocate. That's really the seeds of how a championship team is born and how a dynasty eventually is achieved. It all starts with the small steps in the very beginning, and you apply belief. And you just keep building on it and building on it until you break through. And the sad part about it is, man, we'll never know. I'll put it this way. We'll never get to see what could have been. So I just want to drop that nugget, man. Like I said, I get amped about it. But, as I say, always until next time, this is JB for BTB, Behind the Bench.